it's Sarah. So today I wanted to tell you guys about how I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So I have gotten so many questions from you guys, email, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like all that kind of stuff about diabetes and how I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So if you guys are experiencing any of the symptoms that I'm going to be talking about today, then please go to your doctor. I am not a doctor. Do not rely on everything you read and hear on the internet because you could have something totally different from diabetes. With that being said, I'm going to get right on into the video. At the end of May, the beginning of June, I started losing weight. I wasn't actively trying to lose weight. So at this point, at the beginning of June, I had lost 5 pounds and I was like, oh, that's great. Maybe I'm just kind of like over this like chubby phase that I had in high school. So maybe I'm gonna kind of grow out of it and like slim down a little bit. So I was really happy about that. At the end of June, I went with my friend Paige to her trailer and we spent a whole weekend there for Canada Day and it was really fun. We were up near Wyerton, Tobermory area. And it wasn't that hot and we were swimming all the time, we were doing ATVing and like all that cool stuff, and I was drinking so much water and juice and like everything that was a liquid I was drinking. You know the SpongeBob SquarePants movie where SpongeBob and Patrick are lying on the table and they're being dried out by the lamp and they're just like shriveling up and dying? That's how you feel on the inside when you're experiencing this. So I was just drinking so much. On the same token, I was also peeing as much, if not more. So I've lost about 25 pounds now from the end of June to the beginning of August. And I was just like, yes, I've lost so much weight. Yeah. I was like freaking out because I was so happy. And I was peeing and drinking. And peeing and drinking and just like losing all this weight. So I thought that it was just because I was drinking so much water. At the beginning of August, I realized that there was something wrong with me and that I was actually sick because I was peeing and drinking just as much as I was before, but I had no appetite whatsoever. And if you know me, I love food. I have a problem, okay? I love food so freaking much. And I wasn't eating anything. Like I couldn't stand to even like try and eat anything because when I would go and eat, I'd have like a slice of toast, okay? Like that's how much I was eating, was like 1 slice of toast a day, and I would eat that slice of toast and then I'd go up to my bedroom and I'd sleep all day long, and then I would wake up and it felt like somebody was stabbing my stomach and like scraping knives on my stomach, and I couldn't poop. I'm getting graphic now, but I couldn't poop. I didn't poop for probably that whole week until I went into the hospital. Okay, so on the 7th of August, my mom was like, okay, Sarah, we're going to the doctors. And I was like, Mom, I'm fine, I'm good. I'm just sleeping for 20 hours a day. It's cool. My mom takes me to the doctors and we're sitting in the waiting room and he calls us in. He takes my urine sample and a blood sample and everything. And he's just talking to me and he's like, oh, you've lost a lot of weight. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like all proud that I lost all this weight. I'm like, yeah, I lost all this weight. And he's just like, he gets the results back and he looks at me and he's like, Sarah, you might have diabetes. And I was like, what? Come again? What did you just say to me? That's how you're gonna tell me? You're not even gonna be like, so there's something that I need to say. He was just like, no, you got diabetes, so you need to go to the hospital, okay? We go over to the hospital and I am like angry crying because I'm just like, all those years of being fat, you did this to yourself. Why? I'm like crying and sweating and I'm just like, I hate my life. So we get into the hospital and we're in the emergency room and we go up to the triage nurse and we're like, here's this thing that the doctor gave me that apparently you need. She like looks at the paper, looks at me, looks back at the paper. She's like, okay, just give me 1 second. You need to come into this room. And I was like, but there's like 15 other people in the waiting room. Like, you're taking me right now? What? There's like 15 other people waiting. And she just like looks at me and she's like, no honey, you need to go sit in the chair, okay, right here. I'm gonna have to take your blood pressure and everything. And I'm like, okay, outstanding service at the hospital, great, right? Then she's like, sends me to another room where I get this other nurse, and he was the sweetest because he has type 1 diabetes. Then they wheel me into the emergency room, and so the doctor finally comes in there, and my mom's like waiting. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon by now, so it's been like a 4-hour event, this thing. Nobody has told me at this point that I have type 1 diabetes. They just keep saying diabetes. They don't say type 1. So I'm still, it's like confirming in my head that I have type 2 diabetes because they're not saying type 1. So he's just like, well, there's like a 90% chance you have diabetes. We're gonna do some more tests. We're gonna take your blood every like hour, 2 hours kind of thing. And we're probably gonna monitor you overnight. My mom like looks at him and she's like, what do you mean, like overnight? And he's like, yeah, like she's really sick. And my mom's like, so I need to call into work and not go to work then. And he's like, yeah, that'd probably be best because she's gonna be in the hospital for at least 1 night. The nurses are there and they're like, okay, we're gonna take you up to ICU because you're really sick and we need to monitor you and everything. So the first night in the hospital was really scary because I was by myself and I didn't really understand fully what was going on because nobody had explained to me that I had type 1 diabetes. They weren't really worried about whether or not I knew if I had type 1 diabetes. They were just worried about getting my blood sugar levels under control because my blood sugar levels were so high that they brought my blood sugar down to 8, which is, you know, okay, and I had a crash. My mom, my dad, and my 2 sisters were there, and my grandma and my other sister were just like freaking out because they weren't there and they didn't really understand what was going on because we as a family didn't know yet what was going on. It was a really good day, my second day in the hospital. Like I was more with it, I understood what was going on. I had my diabetes nurses come in and they explained a whole bunch of stuff to me. They explained what type 1 diabetes is. So I got my first meter and I got my insulin pens and all of my stuff, so I got hooked up. And then they kind of just kept me in the hospital for the next 2 days just to make sure that I understood how to do my insulin because by Friday night I was injecting myself with my insulin, and the first time that I had to give myself a needle, it's the scariest thing ever. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. 1, 2, 3, and like I like jabbed it in. Like I thought I had to use so much force to do it. Like I stabbed myself and I was just like, oh, I didn't feel anything whatsoever. I went home and used all the stuff that the nurses taught me. It was really scary, but in the same token it was very educational and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. So that's kind of how I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, just kind of my hospital experience and everything. I'll have my other diabetes videos linked down below so you can go and check them out. Make sure to subscribe, thumbs up, and follow me on Instagram because that's where I'm gonna be most of the times. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!